When you listen to music, what attracts you to a song? The beat, the melody, the lyrics? Welcome to Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart, a podcast sponsored by Resurrection Catholic Parish in Green Bay, Wisconsin. For centuries, Lectio Divina, or sacred reading, has served as a spiritual practice that has helped people to reflect upon the scriptures with a 4-step process. Katie and Tony, hosts of the popular podcast Revealed, also sponsored by Resurrection Catholic Parish, bring this ancient practice to the world of music. Through listening, meditating, praying, and contemplating or sitting with a song, the words and music come alive to add spiritual depth to the experience of listening. Let's join our hosts, Katie and Tony, as they lead us through this spiritual practice, ever ancient and ever new. Welcome to Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart.
Welcome to the 4th episode of Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart. I'm Katie.
And I'm Tony.
And we're going to be breaking open a song that relates to the gospel for this 4th Sunday of Lent. Before we do that, let's do a quick review, quick review of our process for Auditio Divina.
Well, Katie, Auditio Divina has 4 steps to it, and we've gone over these in past episodes, but for anybody who's listening for a first time, we're going to do a really quick review. So 4 steps. First step is called Auditio, sacred listening. We're going to listen to a portion of a song, just a clip, not the whole thing. Can't get put in jail for copyright law infringement. So we're going to listen to a portion of a song and try to figure out what word or phrase is most sticking out to us, what's striking us as we listen to that song in that moment. That's the first step. Second step is called meditatio, another Latin word for meditation. We're going to take some time to reflect upon why that word or phrase has some meaning in our life. The third step is called oratio, or prayer, Latin for prayer. We're going to lift that word or phrase in prayer. And then the 4th step is called contemplatio. We're going to just contemplate that word or phrase, letting it sink deeply into us as we move on into our day and into our lives.
Thanks, Tony. Now, what gospel is on for this 4th Sunday of Lent?
We're going to be looking at the gospel story from John's gospel called The Man Born Blind. This is one of my favorite stories because there's this guy who's born blind, and back then people thought that if you're born blind, there's a reason for it. So your parents obviously were sinful people because otherwise you'd be able to see, right? Or you yourself did something wrong and caused your blindness, right? So there's a reason why you're blind, okay? It's not just in today's world, we wouldn't think that.
We know that.
Back then, they thought there was a cause. So the people around this man who was born blind are like, why is he blind? And what I love about it is it comes evident that there is no reason. He's just blind because he's blind. But then Jesus has mercy on this guy, takes some saliva, makes some mud, puts it on his eyes, cures him, and makes him whole again. And it's a great story, but I love that piece about why is the guy born blind? Who did what? Mm-hmm. And there is no reason.
And so the song that we're going to play off with is, I think a lot of people have probably heard. It is Doctor My Eyes by Jackson Browne. And the version we're doing is one of your favorites, Tony, right?
I love this version for a couple of reasons. I love live music, as I've discussed before on these episodes. This is called Live at Glastonbury from 2010. So Jackson Browne playing to a live audience over in England. The other reason why I love it is because it's longer. And so we get to play a little bit more of the clip and try not to break copyright infringement laws. Mm-hmm. So we're going to play a clip from Dr. My Eyes from Live at Glastonbury 2010. What we would invite you to do is listen to this portion of the song and then what word or phrase most sticks out to you. So let's listen for the first time to Dr. My Eyes by Jackson Browne.
I have done all that I could. See the evil
we hope that gave you a lot of energy and ready to break open this song. So now we're going to share what was the word or phrase that really struck you, that tugged at your heart. For me, it was, I want to understand.
And for me, it was, I have done all that I could. So we're going to play the song a second time through, and this time in the meditatio step of our reflection, we're going to invite you to reflect on why that word or phrase sticks out to you. What is the meaning there in your life? So let's listen to Jackson Browne, Doctor My Eyes, for a second time, and reflect upon the word or phrase that we've selected.
As we come back, it's time now to reflect on that word or phrase. For me, my phrase was, I want to understand. And the reason it kind of stuck out to me is I like to understand things. I like to know why. And I think this kind of relates back to the gospel where the culture at the time, somebody was blind. Why? Why was that person blind? To understand why. What were the causes? And it's a reminder to me that I can't understand everything, that the mystery of God, the mystery of our faith is I can't understand everything. And I have to reconcile the wanting and the needing to understand why to just having that faith, to knowing that I'm not going to understand everything. And hopefully by giving into that idea of not needing to understand everything, that my eyes are actually open to understanding things beyond what I knew.
For me, my phrase was, I've done all that I could. And I think about that man born blind. I mean, he's not a young child, right? He's probably lived some life. His parents may or may not even be with him anymore at this time of his life, they're really not referred to, as I recall. So he's done all that he could. He's lived his life the best he could. He can't do anything more. He has to rely upon this bountiful mercy of Jesus to heal him, to give him sight. So there's nothing else he can do to make himself whole. He's got to rely on the love of God. The same goes in my life. I mean, I think about all the places I've been, things I've done, but sometimes I can't explain why I am who I am and why I do what I do. Sometimes it's because, I inherited this gene pool, or, I come from a certain area, or I was raised a certain way, or I've met certain people. I can't necessarily undo any of that. That's all just part of who I am. Just like the man born blind. He was born a certain way. I was born a certain way. And sometimes we just have to kind of sit back and say, you know what? I am who I am. I've done all I can do. And then I leave that up to the grace of God as I go forward. So we're going to play this song a third time. And this time we would invite you to pray with your word or phrase. Lift that word or phrase up to the sacred, to the holy. So let's listen a third time to Doctor My Eyes by Jackson Browne.
As we come back, it is time to sit in silent prayer for a moment and just pray with that word or phrase.
Welcome back from this moment of prayer. And now we're going to play the song a fourth time as we move into the fourth step of Auditio Divina called Contemplatio. We're going to invite you to listen to this song one last time and just let your word or phrase sink deep into you. And so let's listen a fourth time to Dr. My Eyes by Jackson Browne.
We invite you now to take some time to rest in the presence of the sacred and holy, letting that word or phrase sink deeper and deeper. As we come back together, it's time to share how that word or phrase will permeate into our lives this week. For me, my phrase was, I want to understand. And the way I'm going to let that permeate into my life is to remind myself I don't have to understand everything, that I need to lean into the mystery of God, to have faith instead of complete understanding.
And for me, it's realizing that I can't control everything. Sometimes I have to just sit back and realize I've done all I could in a situation. There's really nothing more I can do. I kind of got to just let it up to God. So there's this old saying that St. Ignatius actually came up with many, many centuries ago, where he said, pray as if everything depends on God and work as if everything depends on you. And I think sometimes that's the attitude I need to take into my world, is work hard and do as much as I can, and yet know that ultimately it's kind of in God's hands.
There we go. That is our fourth episode of Auditio Divina, where we talked about how Dr. My Eyes by Jackson Browne relates to the fourth Sunday of Lent's Gospel. We hope that you enjoyed and got some good reflection, and this helps you on this journey through Lent and beyond. We hope that you join us next time when we are going to be doing what song, Tony?
So next Sunday, the fifth Sunday of Lent, is the story of Lazarus, the late raising of Lazarus. And so we're going to focus on a song by Chris Daughtry called Bring Me to Life. How appropriate does that sound, huh?
That sounds perfect.
All right. Can't wait to get on that one. So until we see you again, be well.
Catch you on the flip side.
Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart, has been a production of Resurrection Catholic Parish in Green Bay, Wisconsin.